working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on today's news in these extraordinary times. A health expert on infectious diseases said the preparations against the entry and threat of the Marburg virus in the country are similar to the measures implemented against the Ebola disease. Preparations for the first State of the Nation address of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. are now in their final stages, according to the Presidential Security Group. The Department of Foreign Affairs welcomed delegates from ASEAN member states for a workshop on the peaceful settlement of disputes and maritime boundary delimitation held on July 12 to the 14th here in Manila. And President Bongbong Marcos Jr. lauded the Philippine women's national football team, Team Filipinas, for giving the country the greatest gift after its historic win during the weekend. But first, in our news, President Joe Biden, thwarted by lawmakers and the Supreme Court, sought to revive his ambitions to tackle climate change as heat waves batter the United States and Europe and across the world. Let's listen in.
As president, I have a responsibility to act with urgency and resolve when our nation faces clear and present dangers. And that's what climate change is about. It is literally, not figuratively, a clear and present danger. And this crisis impacts every aspect of our everyday life. That's why today I'm making the largest investment ever, $2.3 billion. Right now, there are millions of people suffering from extreme heat at home.
Biden, delivering a speech at the coal-fired electricity plant in Massachusetts, said his administration would do whatever is necessary, with or without lawmakers on board. The Biden administration has framed climate policies as a job creation project and as a national security issue made more urgent by soaring fuel prices in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. His first day in office, Biden signed an executive order to bring the U.S. back into the Paris Climate Agreement, followed later by an ambitious announcement that he was targeting a 50 to 52% reduction from 2005 levels in U.S. net greenhouse gas pollution by 2030. Meanwhile, the ASEAN Center for Climate Change is slated to launch in Brunei sometime September this year, pending approval from other countries in the regional bloc, and said that was according to the head of Brunei Climate Change Secretariat. Ahmed Zainuddin Pehin Dato H.J. Halbi said the center, a Brunei initiative as part of its 2021 ASEAN chairmanship, will enable the Sultanate to become a regional knowledge and research hub on climate change. Discussions are ongoing with other ASEAN countries to develop the modalities and structure of the organization, he told The Scoop on the sidelines of the Climate Action Week at the Brunei Mid-Year Conference and Exhibition on Wednesday. An agreement on the establishment of the center is being drafted and options on the location of the center are being studied. The ASEAN Center for Climate Change is expected to become a hub for research, scientific data, and capacity building. In other news, Dr. Jean Solante, an infectious disease expert, said that during the Laging Handa briefing that the new Omicron subvariant called BA.2.75 is deemed highly transmissible. It can also evade current vaccines against COVID-19. However, during the briefing, he also admitted that it's still too early to say anything about the characteristics of this new subvariant. Let's listen in.
Well, it's too early to tell the characteristic and the behavior of this new Omicron subvariant of BA.2.75. but there are mutations that they found that most likely it can have a higher rate of transmission, no? Just like what we have now with BA5. And there is also a possibility that it can also affect our vaccines. But if you look at the genetic tree of the Omicron variant, as they evolve, there is always that increased transmissibility and the ability to evade the vaccines, no? The protection that we have with vaccines. So we will wait for more data if the other area there, if it can really cause severe disease, no? Dahil importante din yan sa atin, no? Kasi when we look at variants, those are the important implications. Kung mataas ba ang hawaan, mataas ba yung risk na pwede kang magka-infection despite na bakunahan ka na, or pwede kang mas malala ang presentation mo. So it's still too early. This variant of concern has been in like 10 or 12 countries, including India. And I cannot see that it will not happen here to us, no? Or it cannot enter here. There's a possibility. It's only a matter of when it will enter here, and that we have to also prepare, just like what we're preparing now and we're doing with BA5.
For now, Solante said they are still awaiting for more data that would show if the new subvariant called Centaurus can bring about severe conditions and symptoms, and if it will have any effect on the efficacy of vaccines. Meanwhile, the Department of Health says despite continued case increases in most regions, the entire nation and all regions remain at low-risk COVID case classification. In a press briefing, DOH officer in charge, Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, said that most areas show a continuous increase in cases, with the NCR showing the steepest increase now at almost 900 cases per day.
Dito sa ating mga datos at mga projections, we do not see na meron tayong plateauing or pagbagal sa ngayon ng pagtaas ng kaso. Actually, in our projections, we are seeing that by the end of July, mas tataas pa ang mga kaso natin.
Yesterday, the DOH reported that more than 900 additional Omicron subvariant cases have been detected in the Philippines, with the majority being the BA5 sublineage. Vergere said they have detected B16 additional BA.5 cases, or rather 816 additional BA.5 cases, 42 additional BA4 cases, and 52 additional BA.2.12.1 cases during the last genome sequencing run. Meanwhile, preparations for the first State of the Nation address, or SONA, of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. are now in their final stages, according to the Presidential Security Group. PSG Commander Ramon Zagala said they are now wrapping up their preparations for the event on July 25 at the Batasang Pambansa Complex in Quezon City. Let's listen in.
Preparations are being planned since last week, and that we at PSG, we are prepared in coordination with the Philippine National Police so that everything will run smooth. From the time he arrives, he delivers the SONA until he returns to Malacanang.
He also said they coordinated with the Philippine National Police, Bureau of Fire Protection, and the relevant agencies in securing the venue for the event, which is usually marked by protests. PSG said it hopes these measures will ensure no untoward incident, and that will happen next Monday. As of Wednesday, Zagala said they have yet to receive any report of any plot to derail the conduct of SONA. PNP earlier said over 20,000 personnel from the PNP, PSG, and Metropolitan Manila Development Authority will be deployed in Quezon City to secure the event. Strict health protocols will also be in place. Staying in the country, the Southern Police District will deploy more police officers on the streets as part of preemptive efforts against criminality. In a statement on Thursday, SPD Director Brigadier General Jimmy Lee Macaraeg said this is in line with the orders of the Department of the Interior and Local Government Secretary Benjamin Abalos Jr. and the National Capital Region Police Office Chief Major General Felipe Natividad. He added that a total of 1,860 personnel will be deployed to render patrols in places of convergence within the southern Metro Manila area. He added that more police on the streets in hotspot crime areas is a preventive and effective way to lessen street crimes. The Department of Foreign Affairs said more than 100 Filipinos in Sri Lanka have expressed willingness to be repatriated next week after the crisis hit South Asian country was placed under Alert Level 2. In the July 20 Laging Handa briefing, DFA Undersecretary Eduardo Jose de Vega said they ceased deploying Filipino contract workers to Sri Lanka due to the current difficult situation in the country in light of its economic crisis. Again, let's listen in.
Alert levels, there are a little over 700. Mga 700 yan. Karamihan do are hindi contract workers, mga Filipina na may asawang Sri Lankan. Kamusta kalagayan nila? Well, ayon sa ating tanggapan, Philippine Embassy sa Dhaka, sa Bangladesh, sila yung in charge sa Sri Lanka, at saka meron tayong honorary consul dun sa Sri Lanka. Of course, well, mahirap ang sitwasyon, no? Mataas ang presyo, may mga pagkukulang kunyari yung fuel or electricity, other things. However, meron din nagsasabi kunyari si Dr. Benjamin Reyes, dating USEC ng Dangerous Drugs Board yan. He's now based in Colombo kasi siya yung Secretary General ng isang organisasyon called the Colombo Plan, no? Nagbibigay ng funding for projects around the region. No? Sabi niya, hindi naman yung chaotic na nagkakapatayan o di kaya walang-wala. Mataas lang ang presyo. Yan ang problema. So, sa 700 na Filipino doon, meron na mga 100 na parang nagsabi na gusto nila makauwi. Pero karamihan will stay there. Alam naman natin na bukod sa may family sila doon, mga Filipino are very resilient and ready to face all challenges. No? Maaaring magkaroon na rin ng improvement sa situation kasi today yung Parliament pipili ng formally ng bagong presidente and we'll see what goes on. We are monitoring the situation. More than 100, mga 115 more or less ang gusto umuwi. No? Yung mga yon, nagpe-prepare kami para sa mga gustong umuwi. Well, hindi tayo makakuha ng sweeper flight. No? Kasi kailangan niya maraming administrative requirements. And Sri Lanka hasn't given yet, the government of Sri Lanka hasn't yet approved yung landing rights or what. Pero may mga commercial flights. Tuloy pa yung commercial flights. So isang paraan yan na pinag-isipan namin ay fund yung mga plane tickets para sa gusto makauwi. No? Now, as for yung mga matitira sa 600, by the way, yung 100 na uuwi, hopefully within the next week, next 2 weeks, nag-uumpisa na yan magsiuwian. No? That's our goal. No? Yung mga matitira, we're trying to reach financial assistance to them. No? So nagagawa kami ng mga bank kasi ang problema po, hindi basta-basta ngayon makapasok ng pera sa Sri Lanka. Because may mga bang yung bagong pamahalaan o yung pamahalaan because of inflation or other regulations, kunyari, bibigyan natin ng rough amount, ayuda, yung mga Filipinos, let's say a few $100 bawat isa. And they're about 600. Yung amount yun, 20,000 or 200, 600 times 300, magiging about $20,000. Hindi ka makarimit ngayon ng $20,000 sa account sa Sri Lanka. So we're trying to find a way. Ang ating embahada sa Dhaka under the Charge d'Affaires, si Ms. Reyes, is trying to think, ano kaya magtayo sila, Western Union account or something. Basta, gagawin lahat ng paraan para may maabot na assistance po. Pero right now, ang priority yung gusto umuwi. Yung gusto makauwi, bilhin sila ng plane ticket.
The official also said the repatriated Filipinos will be assisted by the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration through its reintegration program. Cash assistance will also be provided to all Filipinos who will choose to stay in Sri Lanka. In a related news, one of the longest queues in the Sri Lankan capital, Colombo, is for the exit, as thousands of people line up outside the immigration office seeking passports to escape the country's economic crisis. Take a look.
Today morning, 8 o'clock, I want to take passport because too many people, you see, too many people. So still I can't. You have to stay all night and tomorrow morning. Yes, I have to wait tomorrow morning, but I don't know tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock. I don't know. I can take passport tomorrow. And find very nice job and too difficult, yani. Because I want to go, I want to take nice salary.
Saturdays come means the Colombo. Mondays waiting passport, not passport waiting. I am today my passport is coming.
Coming today passport renew. Now 9 hour, 10 hour here. Very big problem, no food, nothing, no sleeping. I don't know, today passport give me, no, I don't know. Very big problem.
Every day, about 3,000 people submit their papers and 15,000 rupees, about $42 to obtain travel documents. The office is running 24 hours a day, 6 days a week to try and cope with the demand. Many applicants still have to wait overnight, and some of those waiting in the queue go without food and water for fear of losing their place, sweating in the humid tropical weather. Now, on Wednesday, Ranil Wickremesinghe was elected Sri Lanka's next president, taking over from Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who fled the country and resigned after protesters forced him from his palace. Colombo is also in talks with the International Monetary Fund for a bailout, but the would-be emigrants have little hope of improvement soon. Now, near the seaside protest camp where Sri Lankans last week celebrated chasing their president into exile, a sullen crowd reacted to the vote for his replacement with disappointment, but not surprise. Around 200 people gathered under a sweltering morning sun to watch the contest outside the presidential secretariat in Colombo, one of the several government buildings dramatically stormed by the public earlier this month. Take a look.
How he's come to president. Always he's giving troubles to his people, poor people.
People, innocent people were expecting a better solution, better system, better country, to live under one flag, live under one law. So hope for good. We can fight. We will fight for our country. We will give our lives. That is for sure. No problem. We are ready.
For those who seek to destroy, to threaten democracy, they must then be dealt with by the law. For the others, I would like to bring everyone together so that a national consensus is formed as to the way forward.
In today's other news, the main guns and other batteries of BRP Antonio Luna FF151 PF were put to test in a series of live fire events of the ongoing phase of the Rim of the Pacific or RIMPAC exercise from July 12 to the 16th. During the gunnery exercise or GUNEX, BRP Antonio Luna tested the accuracy of its main battery, the 76mm Super Rapid Gun, 30mm Smash Aselsan, and caliber 50 machine gun, aiming at the hammerhead targets deployed by the Royal Canadian Navy Halifax-class frigate, HMCS, Winnipeg NCSM Winnipeg while underway. Meanwhile, during the Naval Surface Fire Support or NSFS rodeo exercise, the 76mm Super Rapid Gun was again tested by targeting 2D virtual land information. BRP Antonio Luna and other participants were given a practice run for the gunfire corrections prior to proceeding with the record firing. RIMPAC this year, or RIMPAC 2022, helps to gauge and validate the Philippine Navy's capacity to sustain operations overseas and provides resources and an environment that permit international participants to achieve their individual and collective training objectives.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Masela nito dahil investment ito ng pamilya natin.
Humihingi po ako sa inyo ng paumanhin.
Si Junseo, hindi mahigitan ang galing ni Minho sa negosyo.
Sa wakas may lisensya na tayo. Si Minho ang may gawa nito.
Congratulations!
Lagi niyang sinasabi na wala akong ibang ginawa kundi gamitin ang koneksyon ng aking pamilya.
Ngunit hindi lang sa negosyo, sila magtatalo.
Tumanggi ka mag-invest sa hospital kung saan nagtatrabaho ang babaeng pakakasalan mo? Ano ba talagang gusto mo?
Ang mali ay mali. Hindi ako dapat magdesisyon ng batay lang sa nararamdaman ko.
Paano naman ako?
Hindi ka mahalaga sa kanya habang tinutulungan kita at inaalalayan ka nung nagsisimula ka. Naghihintay naman siya para balikan ako. Pero sa ginagawa niya, pinapahamak niya sarili niya.
Anong ibig mo sabihin?
Fatal Promise, ngayong linggo.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's stand together sa Net 25.
Gusto niyo pong maging mama ko? Salamat po, Mrs. Elsa.
Ay, mahal ko. Magpakasaya na at maghanda dahil magsasanib puwersa na ang pera at impluwensya.
Mahabang proseso ito, Romina.
Magkano ba?
Para manahimik ka na.
Ang laki nito.
Basta huwag ka nang magpapakita kahit kailan.
Ano ka ba, Dr. Romulo? Kapag pera ang usapan, walang imposible sa'yo. Napababa niya ang piyansa.
Paano nga?
Meron lang akong ipapagawa sa iyong maliit na pabor.
Gagawin kong lahat ng paraan para mawala ka na rito, Elsa Guerra.
Ngayong linggo, sa Mi Esperanza.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's stand together. Sa Net 25.
Hindi ko kayang talunin si Clara. Sasabihin ko sa kanya ang totoo na ako ang nagnakaw ng mga design niya at tinamay lang kita. Sorry, Ivan.
Pinapatawad kita.
Friends, ang pag-amin sa kanyang nasaktan, mauuwi ba sa pagkakaibigan o panibagong bakbakan?
Ano ba talaga ang totoo?
Ang totoo, wala kang kwentang ina.
Ay, bitiwan mo ako! Bitiwan mo ako! Manlalako ka! Masama kang tao! Sinungaling ka!
Palabra de Amor.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's stand together. Sa Net 25.
Itong lalaki na to, nagtutulog-tulugan kasi ayaw kanyang tulungan. Hindi siya gentleman. Hoy, Design, tumayo ka dyan.
Ha? Dok, may pag-asa ba itong maayos tong mukha ko? Malaki. Malaki? Ibig mo sabihin, Dok, malaki ang pag-asang maayos ang mukha ko?
Hindi, malaki yung gagasusin mo para sa mukhang yan.
Kakain kayo in 30 minutes, finish or not finish, pass your plates, okay?
Abangan sa Lutong Daza. Favorite natin lahat, Pinoy Merienda Classics. Busog sa sarap, busog sa tawanan kasamang walang kakupas-kupas na si Bayani Agbayani.
Espesyal ang ating handa. Meron tayong pansit gamit ang 4 kinds of noodles, pork siomai,
Turon with a twist at masarap na ginumis. Saan ka pa?
Kita-kits sa Lutong Daza.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's stand together. Sa Net 25.
Welcome back. The Department of Foreign Affairs welcomed delegates from ASEAN member states for a workshop on the peaceful settlement of disputes and maritime boundary delimitation held on the 12th to the 14th of this month. Take a look. The workshop was co-organized by the DFA's Maritime and Ocean Affairs Office and the Office of ASEAN Affairs, together with the Max Planck Foundation, or MPF, for International Peace and the Rule of Law under the latter's ASEAN Cooperation Project. The workshop focused on 2 major themes of peaceful dispute resolution: dispute settlement mechanisms under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, and the Maritime Boundary Delimitation Procedure. Participants from ASEAN member states represented their foreign and justice ministries, as well as agencies covering maritime issues. In her opening remarks, Assistant Secretary for Maritime and Ocean Affairs, Maria Angela Ponce, noted that the 2016 South China Sea Arbitration Award, whose 6th anniversary was on July 12, is a demonstration of the Philippines' commitment to the peaceful settlement of disputes through UNCLOS. Ambassador to the Philippines of the Federal Republic of Germany, Her Excellency Ankie Raffenstuhl, in her remarks, also highlighted the contribution of the 2016 award to the rule of law in the South China Sea. Around the world, millions of refugees and migrants in vulnerable situations suffer poorer health than the most communities in which they live. That is according to the World Health Organization's first World Report on the subject, published yesterday. Take a look.
Today, WHO is proud to launch the first World Report on the health of refugees and migrants. 1 in every 8 people on our planet is a refugee or migrant, and the numbers are growing. With conflicts, climate change, growing inequality, and global emergencies such as the COVID-19 pandemic, more and more people will be on the move. Like anyone else, refugees and migrants have the right to the highest attainable standard of health. But the health needs of refugees and migrants are often neglected or unaddressed in the countries they pass through or settle in. The WHO World Report on the Health of Refugees and Migrants is a landmark and an alarm bell. It provides a comprehensive overview of refugee and migrant health, demonstrating wide disparities between the health of refugees and migrants and the wider populations in their host countries. For example, many migrant workers are engaged in the so-called 3D jobs, dirty, dangerous, and demanding, without adequate social and health protection or sufficient occupational health measures. The report also highlights a fundamental knowledge gap. Refugees and migrants are virtually absent from global surveys and health data, making these vulnerable groups almost invisible in the design of health systems and services.
I urge planners, policymakers, and donors alike to use the wealth of information found in this report to inform decision-making. I would also like to invite them to consider the action points for governments and other stakeholders around the world to step up efforts and make good health and well-being a reality for all members of society, of which refugees and migrants are an integral part.
In reviewing healthcare provision for the roughly 1 billion migrants worldwide, the new analysis reveals that they're not inherently less healthy than host populations. However, they suffer worse health outcomes, often living and working in substandard conditions. The report identifies trends, gaps, and practices in protecting and promoting the health of refugees and migrants and highlights factors and actions that can shape and improve their health and well-being. The Asian Development Bank today slashed its 2022 growth forecast for developing Asia and warned economic conditions could worsen as the war in Ukraine and supply chain disruptions drive up prices. The Philippine-based bank said while the impact of COVID-19 had eased, the region was now grappling with the fallout from Russia's invasion of Ukraine, lockdowns in China, and aggressive interest rate hikes. To reflect the deterioration across developing Asia, which stretches from the Cook Islands in the Pacific to Kazakhstan in Central Asia, the bank cut its 2022 growth forecast to 4.6%. Now that compares with its previous prediction in April of 5.2% and the 6.9% growth chalked up last year. It also increased its inflation forecast for the region this year to 4.2% from 3.7% due to surging food and fuel prices. The bank warned risks to the outlook remain elevated. The bank also warned a worsening fallout from the war in Ukraine could lead to a further surge in global energy and commodity prices with likely knock-on effects on growth and inflation in developing Asia. Ensuring food sufficiency for a so-called agricultural country remains a holistic challenge for the Philippines, considering the post-COVID-19 pandemic effects. The Ukraine-Russia conflict resulting in food crisis worldwide and the accelerating global inflation, but putting a premium on what President Bongbong Marcos Jr. described as an existential, even a moral imperative, is on top of the agenda of his administration to ensure end-to-end satisfaction for Filipinos or between local producers and consumers. Now, to realize this, the Department of Agriculture is now heading for an immediate tweaking of the value chain system in the country, which aims to increase the production of local farmers and fishers. Take a look.
Paiigtingin pa para tumaas po ang ating yield at the same time bumaba ang ating pinag-aaralan at kasama po sa ating rekomendasyon ay ang ang ating yield ng ating mga magsasaka ay tumaas. Ito na po ng ating security. Kung pa dito, meron po tayo dati po natin at sa mga problema na inarap ng ating livestock group na ang sabi nga po ng iba ay tumigil po sa kanilang negosyo sa pagpapalaki ng mga manok, mga baboy. Tinitingnan po natin kung paano natin sila matutulungan dahil importante po na ang kanilang napoproduce will be enough based dun sa ating demand requirement po. So when we say increasing the yield, this is not only applicable to sa ating mga magsasaka po sa ating mga sa livestock sector dahil po kailangan lahat po ng agricultural commodities ay makapag-supply po tayo ng mas mataas. Yun po ang ating direksyon.
The Philippines and Brazil look forward to having stronger defense ties following the recent signing of a Memorandum of Understanding on Defense Cooperation between the two countries. The Department of National Defense Officer in Charge, Undersecretary Jose Faustino Jr., met with the representatives from the Brazilian government headed by Special Envoy to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, Piragibe Tarago, and Ambassador to Manila, Antonio J.M. de Souza E. Silva at the DND main office on Wednesday. With the recent signing of MOU on defense cooperation between the Philippines and Brazil, Senior Undersecretary Faustino solicited Brazil's support for the ASEAN outlook in the Indo-Pacific and welcomed the further development of bilateral cooperation between the two defense establishments, according to DND spokesperson Arsenio Andolong in a statement. Signed on June 29, the MOU is the first bilateral agreement by the Philippines with a Latin American country. A health expert on infectious diseases said the preparations against the entry and threat of the Marburg virus in the country are similar to the measures implemented against the Ebola disease. Dr. Ronjin Solante said in the July 20 Laging Handa briefing that the Philippine health authorities are always preparing for emerging infectious diseases to ensure that healthcare facilities can respond to such cases. Let's listen in.
Marburg virus is one of the viruses na kapamilya lang ni Ebola virus. And remember when we had that Ebola scare in 2016 dahil maraming bansa nag-report nito, we have that preparedness also against Ebola. So sa akin hindi yan remote na pwede tayong pasukan dito. And just like any other emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases, we always try to prepare for that. Na hindi makapasok or kung makapasok man, dapat preparado ang mga healthcare facilities natin. And I think with our experience in the preparation of the Ebola in 2016, magkapareho lang ang mga recommendation and policy on how to handle it, how to contain it, and how to prevent it.
This is actually endemic in specific countries. Katulad nitong Marburg na virus na ito, ito po ay endemic or native siya dun sa mga ibang continents. Katulad nung sa Africa, ito po talaga ay natatagpuan doon. So I think the risk of this going in our country kumalas sa atin ay nakababa. At nabigyan siya, laging handa dapat. So ang kagawa na ng kalusugan mula nung na-receive natin ang report na ito from our international health regulations process, tayo po ay naghahanda na. So we give information to our surveillance officers and of course dun sa ating port of entries para kasama po ito sa mga binabantayang sakit dito sa ating bansa. But again, as I've said, yun pong probability na makapasok po itong klaseng sakit sa ating bansa sa ngayon is still at low risk.
Ghana has confirmed the country's first outbreak of the Marburg virus disease following an examination of earlier results at a World Health Organization collaborating laboratory in Senegal. No treatment or vaccine exists for Marburg, which is almost as deadly as Ebola. Its symptoms include high fever as well as internal and external bleeding. The Marburg virus can spread from infected animals, including bats. The viral illness hits sufferers suddenly elderly with high fever and severe headaches. Fatality rates in confirmed cases have ranged from 24% to 88% in previous outbreaks, depending on the virus strain and case management, according to the WHO.
Province of Bohol, we produce majority of the products because of our terrain. We focused on the food security for the Boholano, like rice, corn, root crops.
I want to tell to the whole world that we Filipinos exist in the chocolate world.
As much as possible, we wanted our guests to stay and enjoy the facilities that we have here. Yes, that's right.
So that they won't go out.
Yeah, it's a one-stop shop already.
Wala pang masyadong foreigners, pero yung local natin talagang umano sila. Nag-travel talaga ang locals natin.
Open for Business is in Bohol, and Bohol is open for business!
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Napakasarap naman ng episode natin ngayong gabi. Busog na ang mga tiyan natin. Busog pa tayo sa mga kwentong bida. Ang award-winning na recipe na ito ang naging foundation ng kanyang food business na tinatawag niyang Tapa-Diction.
Tumikim kami sa iba't ibang nag-offer ng mga tapa. Sa sweet side sila halos. So gumawa kami ng version na salty side naman.
Ang pinakamalaking challenge po niya, wala siyang mga kamay. Siguradong taas kamay kayo sa pagkamangha sa kwento ni Maricel Apatan.
Pinag-aralan ko po ito kung papaano ko makapag-umpisa, tulungan ko yung sarili ko para makagawa po ako ng iba't ibang trabaho.
At kung kwentong coffee shop lang naman ang usapan, meron kaming nakilalang isang cafe owner sa may bandang Cavite po na meron siyang heartwarming story of his own to share. Ako po ang inyong host, Aga Mula, para sa Bida Kayo kay Aga.
Ngayong linggo sa Cine Throwback.
Manley finds the signatures to be of some of the most compelling evidence.
It's a waiting list. Some people say yes, some people say no.
That's it? You gotta protect yourself now. We all do.
They're coming for us, Roger.
No.
Get him upstairs.
Ngayong linggo, alas 12 ng tanghali. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's stand together sa Net 25.
Welcome back. The Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group, or PNP-ACG, reminded the public to be wary of text messages purportedly coming from banks claiming that their account is compromised or blocked. The latest scam message purportedly came from BDO Unibank, asking account holders to verify their bank accounts through a link to prevent them from being put on hold or deactivated. BDO has already alerted account holders against the text scam. It said that they will never send you links via email or text messages asking you to verify your account. Earlier, the PNP-ACG has also warned the public against text scams allegedly offering jobs or claiming that the recipient won a prize. It added that legal action can be taken against these schemes pursuant to data privacy laws. Globe Telecom and Smart Communications had issued statements claiming they had blocked spam or scam messages. The National Telecommunications Commission had asked the telecom companies to send text blasts warning their customers against scam messages. In today's other news, the Department of Trade and Industry invites Philippine micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MISMEs or MSMEs, to join the largest online sale event in Southeast Asia, which aims to promote cross-border e-commerce among ASEAN countries. Take a look. Apart from aiming to promote cross-border e-commerce, the ASEAN Online Sale Day is a yearly event that aims to improve consumer trust in e-commerce, provide continuous sales opportunities for the participating businesses, particularly the MISMEs or MSMEs during the COVID-19 pandemic, strengthen partnerships between stakeholders and businesses, and raise awareness on the ASEAN identity and solidarity. In a new statement issued on Tuesday, the Trade Department noted, quote, ASEAN e-commerce is anticipated to triple in size from $100 billion to $300 billion by 2025. Trade Secretary Alfredo Pascual, for his part, underscored that local MSMEs' participation in this regional event would be crucial in achieving sustainable economic recovery for the country. E-commerce continues to grow despite the COVID-19 pandemic as more customers and companies opt to go online. Notably, ASEAN is home to over 600 million consumers that are increasingly adapting to e-commerce during the pandemic. President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. lauded the Philippine women's national football team, Filipinas, for giving the country the greatest gift after its historic win during the weekend. Let's listen in.
Allow me to just send my best and strongest and most fervent good luck wishes to our women's football team who have managed to reach the finals and are now vying for the championship of the ASEAN Football Federation Finals. Talagang napakagaling ng Pinay at napakagaling ng Pinoy at nakita natin basta't naman ay tayo'y may teamwork, tayo may pakisama sa isa't isa. Nakita naman umabot na kayo sa finals. Kaunting swerte na lang, kaunting sakripisyo na lang. Hindi na finals to, magcha-champion na kayo. So good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck. Ako at ang buong Pilipinas ay nasa likod ninyo. And we will be watching and waiting for the good result for which we will be congratulating you for. Good luck to you. And I am sure you will do very well.
Now, during the meeting, President Marcos vowed to continue providing government support to national athletes, especially those who are still studying, since it allows them to develop discipline as well as learn how to sacrifice, be gracious in victory, and teamwork. He claimed support for student athletes dwindled after the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports became the Department of Education, or DepEd. Now, the president said he will remedy this during his term. In today's other news, actor and filmmaker Keith Sutliff chatted with Net25 correspondent in LA, MJ Racario, about his new movie. Let's listen in. MJ.
Award-winning filmmaker and Hollywood actor Keith Sutliff talks about his highly anticipated project, Suitcase City. I had a one-on-one interview with him. Take a look.
Your new series from movie to series called Suitcase City. Can you share us that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we filmed that in October. It's a TV episodic that we're doing. Very excited about it. It's a passion project I've had for many years now. It was, like you said, it was written as a feature-length script, and then we decided to turn it into an episodic as a better format for this, based on the story. So it's currently in post-production. It's be releasing here in the next about 2 months. We're doing a big outdoor campaign on top of that later on this year in the summer. But yeah, basically, its story takes place in the future. It's post-apocalyptic. Nuclear explosions have detonated by radical groups and organized gangs. Would have also taken over the Earth type of deal, and that these nuclear explosions have caused tons of radiation in a lot of cities and humanity to be wiped out. So there's this one last city called Suke City, and I'll tell you what the meaning of that means in 1 second. But it's one last city, this major city at least, that controls all these resources for survival, such as like oil, gas, food, water, firearms, ammunition, essential things for people to live in. Transportation is another big thing, cars and stuff. So it's this main gang, this gang leader who controls the city, and he's the one kind of running the show. And there's this organized, multiple organized groups trying to overthrow him, but there's this one major group in general. It's a militia, former police officers that what are left over from the city's police force would have come together as a militia. Like I said, they're trying to overthrow this gang leader and this gang to regain the city, because whoever controls the city kind of controls the world type of deal, because all these major resources are there. And the name Suke City stands for, basically it's because the high crime rates are skyrocketed. People are constantly moving in and out of the city, packing their stuff, moving it out because of the high crime rates, basically. So that's why it's called Suke City. So
that's interesting, and I know
a city run by gang violence, corruption, and overall violent crime is the last remaining hub on Earth, controlling all the main resources for survival. Resources such as oil, gas, transportation, ammunition, firearms, food, water, and more. Radical groups and organized gangs in the early 21st century have ravaged the Earth, igniting nuclear bombs and destroying most of humanity. Here, reporting for Eagle News. Back to you, Alma.
Thanks, MJ. And that is the latest news in the ASEAN region and beyond. Thank you for joining us today here on ASEAN in Focus. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Stay in the news, because we live in extraordinary times. Good day.
Hi, this is Ajay. Catch me on Letters of Music on air and online this July 23, Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. on Net 25. See you.
Jimin, ano na nangyari dun sa puzzle na binigay ko sa'yo?
$98.93.
Hindi yun yung sagot.
Pwes, ano sagot dyan?
Ang sagot,